Hello, Mind Body Masters, and welcome to episode number 20 of the podcast. It is amazing to have you here, and thank you so much for tuning in. Now, today's episode is simply titled, It's Not Your Fault. So this episode is for people that have been around the ringer. They've bounced in between therapists and practitioners and nothing has really worked with them. And they may be starting to think that the reason they're still sick, the reason they're not healing, or the reason that they're dealing with some kind of chronic illness is that they must be something wrong with you. What I'm here to tell you today is that there's nothing wrong with you. It's actually the healthcare system that is completely broken, completely backwards, and keeping people stuck and keeping people sick. So if you want to learn more about this and that pretty polarizing message, be sure to stay tuned. Hi, I'm Jay Curry. As a former chiropractor, I realised that people's physical symptoms started in their mind and not in their body, which is why I now teach people how to heal themselves from the inside out. Now, you don't need to be a monk or a mystic to heal yourself. You just need to learn how to master your mind-body connection. And this podcast is going to show you how. You're going to learn how to understand the hidden meaning of your symptoms, resolve the old emotional baggage that's kept you stuck, and gain practical tools to reduce the stress in your life. This is going to give you the ability to heal not only physically, but also spiritually. And this comes with a dangerous level of freedom. So let's help you become a mind-body master. Alright, so the reason that I'm creating today's episode and the reason I've titled it as such is so many of the students and clients that I work with, they come to me and they have this belief that they're broken, that there's something wrong with them, and that they're beyond help. And this belief, it's so devastating to hear people say. And this belief, it really gets people down and it really doesn't exactly instill hope. And one of the things that I want to do with this episode today is if you are someone who has the belief that because nothing has worked for you, because you're still struggling with some kind of chronic condition or pain or some other issue, it's not your fault. It's the healthcare system that you've been born into that is your fault. So I'm going to be talking all about this today and talk about how you can start to escape that system and start to heal from the inside out, which is what we're all about. So let's just have a look at this for a minute. Let's just take a step back. And I want to clarify something first. Right now I'm talking that the healthcare system is broken. It's busted, it's keeping people stuck, and it's keeping people sick. And you know what? It is. But that's only a half truth. Now, when it comes to healthcare and the traditional way of dealing with things and traditional medicine and such is, don't get me wrong, the healthcare system and modern medicine is amazing. If I ever need emergency care, or if any of the people in my life that I love and care about need emergency care, that is the best place for you. If you are ever in a serious accident or have some kind of medical emergency, that is the place where you need to be. But what I'm talking about here in the episode is not the amazing things that modern medicine does in these kind of acute cases. I'm talking about how it fails people with any kind of chronic condition. So often I see clients who have been diagnosed with some kind of chronic condition, whether it be fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, or maybe they've got some kind of digestive issue like Crohn's or anything really, anything that's not an acute condition. And these people are the people where the medical system, the traditional healthcare system really lets them down. And I'm going to talk about why they're let down today. I'm going to be talking all about why that is the case. But in order to paint you a picture, I'm going to use pain as an example, right? So a lot of people around the world are dealing with unexplained pain, chronic pain, fibromyalgia is on the rise, chronic fatigue and things like this is on the rise. And I read a stat the other day, and that stat is that 1 in 5 people in the USA alone, and this is kind of mirrored around the Western world, but 1 in 5 people in the US live with chronic pain. And that number only increases as you get older. So that figure actually changes to 1 in 3 for the people that are over 65. So, and that figure alone, out of that, there is $635 billion, with a B, not an M, $billion spent each year on pain, right? So what that tells me is that the fact that there are so many people living with pain and the fact that there is so much money every year spent on pain tells me that we haven't got a very good solution for it. Now, this is mirrored across the board. You could insert this with digestive conditions or chronic skin conditions or whatever it is, anything that's not an acute condition. And what that tells me and what that shows is that healthcare system is failing the people with these chronic conditions. It's not working for them. But the thing is, people feel as though they don't have any other options. They feel as, what else am I meant to do? And so these people, they stay inside this system that isn't necessarily working for them out of pure desperation and out of hope. And what happens is these people will stay in this system for long enough, and eventually they get told, we're not sure what's wrong with you. We don't know why you're experiencing these symptoms. And people are scratching their heads. These practitioners and therapists and doctors, they're going, hey, I don't know why you're still suffering with this condition. By all these tests, by all these lab results, by all of your scans, by all of my testing, you should be doing better, but you're not. And so what happens here is these people believe that because I've done everything, because I've tried everything, and because these experts and practitioners can't help me, it must be me. It must be something wrong with me. I must be broken. I must be the reason why I'm not healing and getting better when other people can. And so my message for you, if this is you today, is it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. But you've just been in a system that's been missing the most important aspect of healing. And that is emotional stress. That is emotional trauma. Now, I was trained as a chiropractor. And I was trained in a way that if someone came in with a physical problem, we always believed that there must be a physical solution to that problem. And this is the underlying cause of why the healthcare system is so broken and so damaged and letting so many people with chronic conditions down, is because they have this belief that because you have a physical symptom, because there is physical changes in your body, it must have a physical cause, and therefore we need to find a physical solution. So let's look at this in a bit more detail. So if you have a physical change in your body, whether it be a skin condition, whether it be a physical change in your digestive system, or whether it be a physical pain that you're experiencing, I'm not doubting right now that these are real changes in the body. But what I'm doubting is if they have a physical cause. Now, if you listen to episode number 18, I think it is, you might need to check this, but signs that your pain in this instance has an emotional cause. So what we're starting to realize, and what a lot of modern science is now starting to understand, is that emotional stress, emotional trauma, and the things that we've been through in our life actually create physical changes in our body. And this is why so many people are stuck and sick in this healthcare system, is because this is completely ignored. No one is talking about it. No one is helping people work through that. And as a result, people are staying stuck. People are staying sick. So what is it? And one of the things that I hear all the time is, oh, but Jake, I haven't been through emotional trauma. I haven't been through big stress in my life. And one of the things that I would say to that is nonsense. Of course you have. But your criteria as to what emotional stress and what emotional trauma is likely very different. Most people believe that if you've been through emotional trauma, it means that you've been through a massive death, or you've been raped or abused, or you've been uprooted from your home and needed to take refuge in another country. These are the common things that people talk about when we talk about emotional trauma. But what I'm here today to tell you is that emotional trauma can have a capital T or it can have a little t. And what I mean by that is, yes, of course, emotional trauma can come in the form of an unexpected death in the family. It can come in the form of an unexpected diagnosis. It can come in the form of physical or sexual abuse. But it can also come in smaller forms. A hurt, a letdown, an argument with a friend, failing a test. Normal human things. And so one of the things that I say to these people that say, well, I haven't been through any emotional trauma, is I say, well, have you ever been stressed? Have you ever been through something unexpected that caught you off guard? Because your brain does not know the difference between big stress and little stress. It just interprets it as something unexpected and something stressful. And when we look at the science of epigenetics, when we look at the science of German medicine, we can now start to understand how stress impacts our body, how unresolved emotional trauma, how stressful events that we couldn't see coming, how physical changes occur in our body in order to help us, in order to keep us safe. So the example that I use all the time, and I've probably used it 10 times on this podcast already, and I do it intentionally for repetition, and because that's how your brain learns. That's how we start to get these new understandings and new concepts into our brain and really solidify them. And the example I always use is imagine being chased by a lion. That is a stress. That is an unexpected stressful event in your life. And as a result of that stressful event, your body is physically going to change. Your breathing is going to increase. It's going to become sharper and shallower and deeper, a lot faster at the same time. Your heart rate is going to increase. Your blood pressure is going to go through the roof. And all your digestion is going to slow. All of these physical changes are occurring as a response to a stimulus in the environment. And all of these physical changes are in fact helping your body to cope with that stressful event, with that change in your environment. And as soon as you stop getting chased by that lion, as soon as you escape, well then those changes are no longer required. Your blood pressure will return to normal, your heart rate will return to normal, your breathing will slow, your digestion will gradually return back to normal, and your body returns to homeostasis. The stress response is an innate survival mechanism that we all have. And what I'm here to tell you today is that you don't need to be chased by a lion in order for your body to physically respond, in order for changes to occur in your system. But this is where so many people get stuck, is they think, yes, I've got these physical changes in my body, but it can't be caused by stress. It can't be caused by old emotional trauma. And by the way, I haven't been through emotional trauma. Well, I want you to start to see this in a different perspective. And if you're someone that feels as though you're broken and feels as though there must be something wrong with you because you haven't been able to get the results that you've been wanting to get in terms of improving your health or healing, it's likely because you're missing this one piece. And that one piece is the emotional trauma, the emotional baggage that you've been through in your life. Now, on that, I want to talk about emotional trauma, emotional baggage. I use those terms kind of interchangeably. And often memories, I want to ask you a question. Can you remember what you had for lunch 3 weeks ago on Tuesday? Like, any ideas? And now, if you're like most people, you can't remember unless, of course, you eat a tuna sandwich every day or every Tuesday you eat the exact same thing. Chances are, if you're like most people, you can't remember. And why can't you remember? Because it's not an important piece of information. But if I asked you, hey, what was the most stressful event that you went through as a child? You'd be able to recall it in perfect detail. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about how stressful events from your past that you've been through, you can imagine them and you can picture them perfectly. You know exactly what happened. And one of the things that your brain does is it's got this thing called a negativity bias. And what that means is because your brain is wired for survival and keeping you safe, it wants to remember stressful things. It wants to remember traumatic things. It wants to remember painful things. It doesn't necessarily care to remember positive things. So your brain loves to remember negative things. And the reason it does that is to prevent you from experiencing the same thing again in the future. So let's think about this for a moment. Like I said, you can't remember what you had for lunch 3 weeks ago on Tuesday, but you can certainly remember the stressful events that you went through as a child, for example. Now, with this in mind, this is so wild, right? Even talking about this, it still blows my mind. Now, back to that lion, getting chased by a lion, your brain does not know the difference between physically being chased by that lion and imagining getting chased by that lion. Now, what happens for so many people is that we have this beautiful thing called a prefrontal cortex. We've got a very developed brain. And one of the things that we're able to do with this amazing human brain that we have is imagine. We can visualize. We can picture things. We can remember things. And for most people, what ends up happening is when you've been through something stressful, when you've been through something unexpected, emotionally traumatic and emotionally stressful, your brain can recall it like it was yesterday. And like I said, it does this because of the negativity bias. It wants to remember the stressful events to prevent you experiencing it again in the future. But what that does is when you recall these events, when you recall these memories, which so many people do on autopilot, is your body responds exactly the same as if you're actually happening, as if it's actually happening again. So think about that. Think about what you've been through in your life. And no two people are the same. And one of the things that I tell my clients and my students is that no one gets through childhood unscathed. No matter how perfect your parents, no matter the perfect living situation, no matter how privileged you were growing up, we still experience stressful events. We still experience hurts. We still experience frustrations and angers and arguments. And these moments in time can impact our body and create physical changes that we're battling against. And so many people out there are fighting their body. They're fighting these symptoms. And they're trying to cure themselves. They're trying to cure themselves with food and supplements and treatments and all these different kinds of things, all the while ignoring the stressful events that you've been through in your life. So what I want you to start to understand, and if you just take one thing away from this episode, is firstly understand that you don't have had to have been through massive emotional trauma for stressful events to change and cause your body to adapt. Maybe you've been through a breakup. Maybe you went through a divorce. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you work in a job that you just can't stand and you work with people that drive you insane. These stressful events are going to be causing your body to physically adapt. They're going to be causing your body to change, just like being chased by that lion. And so when you are trying to find a physical solution to these physical problems, so often they come up short. And so often they don't work. And the reason being is because the cause of these symptoms, the cause of these pains, the cause of these digestive issues doesn't have a physical or a chemical cause, but in fact a stress and emotional cause. And I want people to start to really look at their own life and look at what are the things that are left unresolved in my life. What are the things that I hold on to? What situations in my life are stressful every single day? And just look at your day. Look at what you spend your day worrying about. Look at what you spend your day thinking about, being concerned about, being fearful will happen. And these are going to give you clues as to what needs to heal or what needs to be addressed in order for you to heal whatever physical ailment that you're dealing with. So that's it, guys. This is a really short and sweet episode, and I really hope that's driven the point home. But it's not your fault if you're experiencing these symptoms, and it's not your fault if nothing's working. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It's the fact that the healthcare system completely ignores stress. It completely ignores old emotional trauma, old emotional baggage that we hold on to, because it doesn't see it as being important. And a really great example of this is if you go to a doctor, or most doctors, I won't say all doctors, because some doctors are very progressive and forward-thinking and starting to look at this because they're starting to understand the impacts that stress has on the body. But let's say you go to a doctor and you've got a digestive issue, and they're not going to ask you, hey, well, what's been going on in your life? What's been stressing you out? What's changed? What happened unexpectedly? Chances are they're going to want to take some bloods and look at your levels and go, oh yes, this is the reason why this chemical's changed or whatever, right? So not often at all are medical practitioners, therapists, practitioners of all kinds of health fields asking what's going on in your life. And because they're not asking what's going on in your life, that's what I'm here for. I want to ask you, what is it in your life that you have been through, that you still remember, that you still deal with, that still haunts you? What are the things that keep you up at night? What are the things that stress you? Where is it in your day-to-day life that you feel triggered? And when you start looking at these, and when you start actually dealing with these and moving through these, one of the things that I know with absolute certainty is that you'll start to understand that you're not broken. You'll understand that it's not your fault. And that's when you can really start to heal. That's when you can live a healthy life. I'll talk about my story in another episode, but this is the place that I operated from. I had all of these ailments and pains and illnesses, and I thought I was broken. I thought there was something wrong with me because I was doing all the traditional ways of healing. And the reason that nothing worked for me is because I was trying to find a physical solution to a physical problem when the real cause was some old stress, was some old emotional baggage, and was the thing in between my ears. And so this is what I tell people is you have the power to heal yourself. You have the power to heal. You have the power to live an incredibly healthy life. But what that requires you do is to look inwards. To look at those things that I mentioned before, the things that stress you, the things that still haunt you, and start taking some responsibility to start dealing with those things, to start looking at those things, and to get help moving through those things. Because when you're able to move through them, it's like no longer being chased by a lion. You can take a big sigh of relief. Oh, wow, yeah, that thing. I don't have to deal with that anymore. Whew, that feels good. I feel lighter. I feel easier. Fantastic. And when you let that go on the inside, the outside will follow. When you heal your mind, your body will follow. So start looking, instead of what's wrong with me, start looking at what's going on in my life, what's going on in my environment. How can I heal that so that I can heal on the outside? All right, guys, that's all I've got time for today on this episode. And I hope this gets you thinking differently. So stay with those questions. Look at what's stressing you day to day, what still haunts you, and start looking at how you can resolve that. Start looking at how you can move through that. And you'll be so surprised at how quickly your body will start to respond, how quickly you can live a healthy life, and how easy it is to maintain really beautiful health when you're dealing with what's going on the inside first. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Mind Body Masters podcast. Now, everyone has the ability to heal themselves with the right tools, information, and guidance. So if you have someone in your life that needs to hear this message, please share this episode with them so they too can start healing from the inside out. Now, if you've liked this episode and you think more people need to hear this message, please give us a great rating on iTunes because it helps more people to actually hear this message and realize the power that they have. Now, if you'd like more information and you'd like to access bonus video content and even have the ability to ask me questions directly, then head on over to my free Facebook group, the Mind Body Masters Heal Yourself from the Inside Out group. Or you can head on over to Instagram and slide into my DMs there. My handle is Jake_Curry. All right, guys, thank you so much again for listening, and I'll catch you again on the next episode.